Hello, folks. Rick Mackey here from GetEstoteric. We're here again with Desiree Foley and my friend David Dennis. And we're going to have some discussion today about some of the topics that are being discussed out there today. And excuse me. And I figured we could start with the whole thing with Donald Trump coming out with this comment about light therapies and UV lights and disinfectant in the body. You guys see that stuff?
Yes, it's been going around where a lot of people are thinking that he told them to inject bleach or disinfectant in their body. So it's been, oh my gosh, a lot of my really close friends, people that I care about, are like putting me in group chats so they can slam Trump. And it's a lot to take in, especially when, I'm a Trump supporter, as I think you two are as well. Yeah. It's really hard for somebody you care and love that for them to be slamming them. And then I want to say to them, I don't ever throw pro-Trump stuff at you. Right. Why are you doing that to me? Right. Because I purposely don't post anything about Trump for that reason, because I don't want to offend my friends.
Right. So, yeah, and you would think that the same thing would be in return. If you just feel something weird, you might talk about it privately amongst some of your friends and say, "Oh, that's just ridiculous," whatever. But I think people realize that he's just really playing them a lot. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that proves that yes, there in a lot of these treatments, like in the flu shot, they have things like formaldehyde in it, which are actually disinfectants, by the way. So when he was talking about this stuff, he's trying to get the media to look into what's in these things that they use for treatments to begin with. So same thing with the whole using light therapy to shine the light inside the body or shine the light onto the surface of the body to kill the virus. Well, wouldn't you know, in China, what did they say they used? They used these robots that went around from room to room that were UV lights. They're shining down on the patients and helping to cure the patients of this illness. So he's not all that. He was just looking above and beyond what everybody else is looking. He's obviously not going to say that if there wasn't something to it,
No, I agree. They've taken it completely out of context, Rick. I listened to what he said, and he was saying about how you can sanitize surfaces and that. And then all he did was just to turn around and say, well, if we could develop something that can go through the system, do that through the system. And that's basically all he was suggesting. Right. And he never at any stage ever indicated that people should be drinking bleach or anything like that. But of course, the fake MSM have been all over that and making him look stupid. I mean, I had a friend only yesterday saying, I can't believe Trump, and he says all these stupid things and he's got dementia. And I said, you're talking about Biden. I said, you don't even know who you're talking about. I said, Trump. I said, you think Trump has dementia? I mean, I honestly believe he's one of the smartest guys, I've ever seen in politics. Definitely very, very smart economically.
He knew exactly what he was saying and why he was saying it.
He's also got, it's not just him and his administration, he's got military people behind him, military intelligence behind him. Yeah. Some of the smartest people in America and around the world are actually helping him. So, to say that is ridiculous.
It really is ridiculous. And, he knew exactly what he was saying, why he was saying it. He was trying to cause this hysteria so that he could go back later and say, there were these experts that were just in my office telling me about all this technology that they have that they're trying to use. And, there's already articles that are out there confirming the fact that, everything that he said has validity. So I thought that was just kind of hilarious, actually. Now, along those lines, too, David, were you talking about them keeping the beaches closed where you are?
I was talking about the beaches earlier. They are beginning to reopen most of the beaches. our beaches here in Cronulla were closed over Easter, which was a good idea because you would have had a lot of people go down and try and get onto the beach. So I can understand that. But they generally have been open in our area in my suburb, for exercise. I mean, I don't lie on the beach anyway. I go running on the beach through the surf every day. So for me, that was only, business as usual. In the eastern suburbs, where they have a lot of backpackers and they're a lot more populous, they've had to close the beaches down because they had big, huge crowds there and couldn't control them. So they're now beginning to open those beaches. In Queensland, they're opening their beaches as well. But my main bugbear with all this is we've actually had really good weather up to now. We do have a cold snap coming into Australia in the southern states this week, apparently. But on the beaches, I still maintain that if you're on the beaches and you've got fresh air, you've got sunlight, you keep social distancing, it's the last place on earth you are likely to spread or contract the virus, and yet they've shut them down. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, if you keep your social distancing and you know that the UV light kills it, I mean, you would think that you would actually be helping the scenario, right? By actually, if anyone had it on them or had the disease within them, that if the UV kills it, it might be helpful.
Exactly. Well, I actually watched a video. It would have been about 6 weeks ago now, and this doctor, he was saying about a hairdryer, and he said if you think you've got the virus, he said the coronavirus has a weakness. It is fragile to heat, and he said about taking a hairdryer and just blowing the air. He said you put your hand over the back of it so it's not too powerful. You put it on a setting that you can reasonably take, and you just breathe in the warm air, he said, for 5 minutes. And he said if you do that, if it's in your nasal, see what it does, it incubates behind your nasal cavity, and that's the coldest place because you've got cool air going in there. And if you blow in warm air, he says you can catch it early and actually destroy this thing just using heat. That was 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
And now they're beginning to talk about it. Of course, it's coming out. Trump and his people are talking about UV rays and heat. But people have been talking about this for a couple of months.
I have a friend who contracted the virus through his job. He's a police officer, and there was a person, I guess I can't really tell the story, but it was something along the lines in his job where he was exposed to it. And at first he had no symptoms, but then he came down with what was like a flu, and of course he had the hard breathing and everything, but he's already like way past it. It's like only
I think that I got the virus in January.
Oh,
and
really?
why I say this was because I went to Las Vegas in January, and with my best friend, came back. I would say the day that I came back, I woke up with this thing, like it felt like something in my throat and lungs.
Wow.
I was dead sick for 2 weeks. I felt like there was something in my lungs, like I was going like that. I had this dry cough, this fever, and I was sick for 2 weeks. And then I remember when I was going through this sickness, my mom calls me up jokingly with me saying, "Oh my God, you have the virus," and I'm like, "No, I don't think so, Mom." But I had the same symptoms, and I was in Las Vegas with all those people, and I came back with that. And then I gave it to my daughter.
Wow. Well, I mean, you're probably immune to it now, but thank God you made it through. I mean, it's pretty nasty. My friend said it was more like a flu for him, and he said, the worst part of it was like the breathing part, but then that part seemed to go pretty quick for him, Well,
I'm a smoker too, though. I was a smoker, and it really affected my lungs. I was like, I was going like that, and I was going to go to the doctor, but I'm like, no, because they're just going to tell me, it's a virus and they can't give me anything for it. And at the time, I didn't know it could have possibly have been that.
Right.
There was no way of me knowing.
It's funny you should say that, Desiree, because I was saying to a friend of mine back in January, I remember I got some sort of virus. It wasn't a cold. It wasn't a flu. It didn't get into my throat. Now, bearing in mind, January here was still summer. It was still really, really hot. And I'm fit. I go running on the beach, so I go swimming. But I got this virus. It was just behind the nasal cavities, and it was like nothing I've ever had before. It just, without going into details, it just was very unpleasant for about a week. But it never actually went down into my throat, never got into my lungs. But it was there for that week. It was really annoying. And I was wondering the same thing as you. Was it the virus? This is in the very early days. Now, we know it came out, what was it, in November? It first reared its ugly head. And it came here in January. A couple of my friends also were ill as well. But as I say, it was summer, it was warm, so I don't think it ever took hold. So I think there's a really good chance I've had it and I'm actually immune. So a friend of mine said yesterday, well, go and get tested. I'm still a bit reluctant to do that, but wouldn't it be nice to find you actually
It would be. And you know what? In the U.S., they're actually going to be sending more kits to places like CVS. You could go in and be tested with the saliva test.
But would it still show if we had it? No.
Yeah, it should still show the antibodies. It shows the antibodies. They're looking for antibodies. So if you've had it, it should still show. I don't know if it'll show as much on a saliva test though. That's a good question. I don't really know if it's the same. But if you go and get a blood test or whatever, or actually the nasal test, which is the big one. Actually, I don't even know if that would work. I mean, what do they do for testing antibodies? Just blood after the fact, right? I think it's just blood. Pretty sure. But
I heard about the saliva test. They can do saliva tests, and they said the antibodies would show up in your saliva.
Yeah, that's
and I'm pretty sure I had it. I would not think that if I didn't come back from Las Vegas.
Right.
That's the only reason. I was around all those people, and then the moment I come back, that I had this horrible sickness, and I think I even had to miss a day of work because I had completely lost my voice too. I had no voice. So and then it was 2 weeks. It took me 2 weeks, and then with the fever and everything, with the sleeping and feeling fatigue, and then I gave it to my daughter. So
I went through that.
Maybe it's time to give up smoking.
I definitely went.
No, I need someone to hypnotize me.
I'll hypnotize you. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I actually have somebody that's going to hypnotize me to help me stop smoking.
I've actually done that.
There's
a guy that came to me once when I had my little business, and he was on 30 a day or something. Anyway, I phoned him up a couple of days later, and he says, he goes, it's fantastic. He goes, I haven't given up altogether. I cut down to 3 a day. And he says, that's like a 90% reduction. He says, but what I love about it is if I wanted to, he says, I could just give up like that. And that was after one session of hypnosis. So, yeah, he was very impressed.
The mind is very powerful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like what he said, though. He goes, the difference was, I am still smoking just one or 2 or 3 a day. He says, but the difference is I now have choice over it, where before I didn't feel I had any choice over it. And that was one session.
Wow, that's great. I mean, the hypnotism works because I know my mom had been hypnotized many, many years ago. And she didn't smoke for like 20 years after that. Something like a long, long time, And so it's amazing what hypnotism can do. But anyway, so just to finish up that topic real quick, we're talking earlier too about the Sweden herd mentality that you actually confirmed for me that it was Sweden, right? That was doing the herd mentality?
Sweden.
Yeah, okay. So what do we know about that as far as their success? And I think I have a little web page up that we could take a quick look at. Let me just bring that up. Hold on. Yeah. So there's an article right here that kind of shows some charts. So you have, obviously the population of the UK is higher than it would be in Sweden, but it looks like the curve is pretty much the same, right? I mean, I don't see much of a difference there. Maybe this one's still a little bit on the uptick, but it went down for a little bit there and then went back up, and then now it's kind of bringing the downward trajectory again. So, I mean, look at Norway and Denmark. Did they do it? I think they didn't do the herd mentality, but just Sweden, I guess. But they all look pretty similar, right? I mean, the curve isn't all that different overall. And there's the number of cases is a lot less, but the population is a little bit higher, I think, in the UK, obviously. A lot higher than Sweden. But yeah, so that's just, it's interesting to look at that anyway. Thought that was interesting. Okay, let's see. So actually, so the next topic I want to talk about is something that Desiree sent to me, which was pretty mind-blowing information about a book that Robert Guffey wrote. It was about his friend, right? It was a friend of his, and his friend had some trouble with drugs in the early days and different things. And he talks about how in these programs, a lot of the times they target people like that. They choose people like that to mess with, or actually they're easier to mess with if they're going to target somebody. But there's a whole story behind it where there was this guy that was his friend's friend. What was the friend's name? Do you remember the friend's name?
Doyle Lee. It's I believe it's Lee because he had to change some of the names, so I get kind of mixed up.
Right. He also says that in the film here. So it's I believe it in the book his name is Doyle, but in real life his name is Lee. So let's just say that. So we'll call him Lee. But anyway, so Lee had this other friend who came to him, and I think he worked for the Department of Defense or something like that, right?
Okay, no. Damien is the guy that
stole
had the friend named Lee that came from Camp Pendleton.
Okay, all right. Why don't you tell the story, because you know
you're doing so good though.
I was just trying to see how much I retained, but yeah, I mean that's so anyway. So this guy apparently stole a bunch of night vision goggles, right? It was like a whole truckload of night vision goggles or something like that from where he was working. And then obviously these agents came looking for him, and he was gone, and the only one that was left was Lee in this location. Damien?
Yeah.
Damien. Oh, okay. So I guess I'm mixing up who's who there, but maybe you can straighten me out on that.
Okay, so Damien was really into, he basically lived at a drug house. He had a drug house. He was addicted to heroin. And I don't know, like a lot of drug people, they have people come in and out of their house. That's just the lifestyle that they have. And he had this one particular friend that he had just met named Lee, and he was actually he was I guess in the Navy, or I'm sure he was in the Navy. So he stole those like 40 night vision goggles, a DOD laptop computer, and also a pistol that was taken off of an Iraqi soldier or general.
Wow.
He stole this stuff and took off from Camp Pendleton, went over to this guy's house, which is Damien's house. He went over there, and then as soon as he wasn't even there that long, he opened up the computer, and then on the computer it said the DOD, Department of Defense. Damien said, "Get that out of here. I don't know why you have that in my house." And then as they were arguing about it, they get a knock on the door, and it was the Navy. It was like the Navy security or something like that, he said.
Yeah, it was the security, right? And they were grilling him on it, right? And
they were accusing him of trying to sell the night vision goggles to Al Qaeda. That's what their story was. Is that I guess these are very like high tech goggles that they didn't want out in the public. They were classified, and they were accusing him of selling it to, I guess, terrorists or something. It's just an excuse to arrest him. They did arrest him, and he said he didn't have anything to do with it. He barely knew the guy, and then they let him go, and then that's when his whole entire world was turned upside down because of what he knew or what he didn't know, and then the Navy decided they were going to put him in this program.
Yeah, but this guy was pretty tough. I mean, he went through a lot of stuff, and luckily he had his friend to talk to, and it was, Robert. Luckily you had Robert to talk to, and I mean, I don't know. He almost kind of made jokes along the way with it too. Like I remember there was one part in the story where he made a bunch of food when these guys were out there spying on him, harassing him from outside the window. And he made a whole bunch of food and then ran out like this with this goop and just threw it at him. Did you see that one? Did you see
and
that
he
one?
said those jarheads started running after all this stuff was on them.
Yeah,
but
they were running
really,
and screaming in the parking lot.
Yeah, so the story talks about more of the technology part of it, like the cloaking technology that they have, and that they're using this cloaking technology on targeted individuals to mess with their mind. So that's where he talks about, which he calls them the invisible midgets. I don't know if you got to that part yet.
I did. Yeah, he was talking about how they must have hired these small, agile, little people to dress up with this cloaking costume or whatever that they wanted to test this technology. He also talked about things like sonic sound weapons that sounded like bullets coming and shattering into the middle of his apartment or onto the wall, and just all kinds of like weird, strange technology they used to try and basically make him feel crazy.
Yeah, they did. They were doing that to him, and they kept coming back to him saying, "Are you ready to cooperate with us now?" Yeah, that's what they kept coming to tell him, and they weren't saying that they were doing it to him, but he knew that they were doing it to him. Because they kept saying that, and it continued because he, first of all, he had no connection to that guy, or did he know anything about those goggles? No. So there was nothing that he can tell them. Like I can't help you here.
One thing that was a flag for the guy Robert was when the main agent, the woman, said something like, "Oh, we got to get rid of these drug addicts around here," kind of like just nonchalantly, but he was. The guy himself was sort of like not paying attention, but he sort of Robert brought it up with him. Says, that was kind of like a
Steve said to let him in.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on. Let me do that. I'll bring in the Stevester. Bing. Here we go. He's joining. There he is. Mr. Steve. Oh, his audio's coming in. Here's the audio. Hey, Steven, how are you?
Good.
Oh, look at that. That's a beautiful back shot you got going there. And we were
Recognized it?
Yeah.
I bet David does.
Did you recognize that, David?
No, I've put my glasses on. No.
Do you recognize it, Rick?
Is that the...
That's your bedroom.
That's my dream bedroom.
It looks like some kind of... I don't know what that is.
It's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh! I was going to say, it looks like one of the museums or one of the mansions here in Newport, Rhode Island, almost.
Does it have a glowing floor like that?
I didn't notice it was glowing.
Yeah, the floors are light floors.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Am I choppy?
No, you actually sound pretty good. You sound pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I look good? Do I look choppy?
You look good. You look good. Yeah.
From my end, everything's choppy. Everybody's like doing the robot.
Yeah, I know. Me on my end too.
Really?
Okay. Now it looks good.
I don't have that.
You look good. You look good from Sydney here. So yeah. I liked your background the other day, Steve. You should put that one on. The one with the Corey's background.
Oh yeah.
That was fantastic.
Are we being recorded or broadcast?
Yeah, we're broadcast. Yes. Yeah, we're broadcast. So we were just talking about a few things. We went over the whole Trump therapies thing, and we went over how the UV lights kill the virus, and how China has those robots, and they were running through their hospitals treating patients with the UVs, and so all the information that basically backs up what Trump was saying. And then the whole
I didn't know about China.
Yeah, China was doing that in their hospitals to treat the
I had
patients.
no idea.
Yeah,
I knew it had been a. I've been reading that it's an actual it's in like medical journals.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and also this whole thing with the disinfectant right in the blood. I mean, you look at any flu shot, pull out, and it's got the formaldehyde in there, which is a disinfectant, and there's also other disinfectants that they listed as well, but that one's one of the main ones.
Yeah, so anyway. I've got to admit that when I first heard it, I was like, oh no.
Here we go, right?
But I really think he's just trolling again.
That's exactly what it is. He's just basically, he knows more about it because he studies up on it. He has professionals talking to him about this stuff, and he wants to see if the people and the team that he's working with know anything about it, or if they have an aversion to it.
This is what I think. And I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, but everything's choppy. Okay, yeah, I can't tell sometimes if somebody's talking.
Gotcha.
This is what I think, and I think every single speech, every single presser, he drops a little seed for haters. Every single one, something for them to, something for haters to hate on. Every speech.
You're probably right. Yeah, I would say that's correct. I feel like
that's true.
Yeah, I do too. It's sad but true, but and
I feel like it's strategy. I feel like he throws like some kind of a distraction for the haters there, for them to chew on for a little while he gets his work done. Hey, go make some fake news about this thing.
So he can see the aftermath and kind of play along with it.
Yeah, so he can with it's like sleight of hand magic. It's like, here, look. It's like, look at this hand, but then with this other hand, I'm going to be actually like doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because all they care about is the optics anyway. Right. So he gives them optic while he actually does something with the other hand.
Exactly. Yeah,
I think the strategy is he wants them to really go all out, because when the information comes out, that will come out very soon, it will make them look really bad. And then people, I think he wants people to see them for what they really are. So I believe that's the strategy.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's no different than usual, right? That's what he's been doing pretty much all along. So we covered all that. We covered the whole herd mentality in Sweden thing, and we looked at a little bit of a chart, and we saw that the curve on the chart is pretty much the same as every other city near there, like the UK's and what was the other one, Denmark, and all the other ones are all pretty much had the same curve. So so far anyway, but there is some concern that maybe they'll have a spike at some point by doing it that way, but. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that's the best thing. Remember when we were kids, you get like chicken pox or whatever, and what was the first thing you did? You went and go have a chicken pox party, just get it out of the way. So, it's like, go touch your brother. That was the first thing they were saying to me, like go rub up against your brother so you can get this stuff out of the way. I'm like, okay, all right. I don't want to do that, but all right. You're gonna get it anyway, so might as well do it. Then we bumped onto this topic of a video that we were reviewing here about the story about Robert Guffey and a friend of his who was a targeted individual, and Desiree was telling us the story about that, about how the book actually went. It's a book, isn't it? Just a book.
Yeah, he wrote a book. He's a professor from California. So he also said he was a 33 degree Mason too.
Right.
Yeah. So he's the one that wrote the book and told the whole story about his friend Damien. But he had never heard of gang stalker or anything like that. But I just found it very unique because it's a different kind of story. I mean, it's not different, but it's just the way that he puts it or how he writes it just makes it like an amazing story that people will actually would want to read. But some interesting stuff though about that cloaking technology, and you know, people that are, you know, victims of this technology, you kind of think back on, wow, was there any, you know, buddy in my house that was using this invisible cloaking technology? And I think so. I've learned a lot from watching that video, and also I'm really good friends with Robert Guffey. He's actually interviewed me before, and he's written short stories about my experience. So when I get a link to that, I'll have to send it to you, because he wrote a very lengthy story about me.
That would be great to see. You know, I think it's important to get those stories out as much as possible. And people like that are very courageous for taking that challenge on, because it's not something everybody has the courage to do, because they have the fear that, well, I might become a target too, so I'm not going to touch that, you know, subject.
Well, he was also thinking that those night vision goggles where you put them on, you can actually see the cloaking technology. That's what they think. That's what it was. Why they wanted him back so bad.
Yeah, that's exactly it. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? Oh, we were talking about the cloaking technology. Oh, yeah. There was a guy I met at the Dimensions of Disclosure who had an experience like that, where there was something going on in his backyard, and, you know, things being like, I think someone bumped up against a trash barrel or something like that. He's always having people come to his back door and harass him and different things like that. So he's also like targeted in certain ways. But this one time, he saw a guy running who was half cloaked. He only had he was only like an upper torso running away from him. Like, as soon as he went, So
I heard this story.
You heard that story?
I heard this.
Yeah.
I think I have too.
Yeah. So he's running away. He's a half a torso. So I think it was like, you know, someone had this cloak, but they only had it half up, you know, and they probably didn't have time to like put it all the way over their head. So the guy's running away holding it around his waist. So, you know, it's funny because, you know, it's technology, and it's nothing, you know, that, you know, it's not that surprising when you know there's technology like that out there. But I think he was pretty freaked out thinking that it was actually a torso. Like, maybe the guy's half in this dimension and half in another dimension, you know. But I'm like, no, I think that's probably technology. You know, there is technology out there like that. Even, you know, there's even some, you know, publicly released versions of that. It's horribly crude compared to what they have, obviously, but, you know, they do have technology like that they're working on in the public sector as well. So,
is this the same guy that kind of started trolling them back?
Yeah, I think so. I think I
started kind of messing with them back.
Yeah. Yo,
hey guys, I gotta run, but I'm gonna come back on. Okay, I have to take this phone call.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'll come back on.
Go.
As soon as I'm done. All right, bye.
All right. All right. So we could go on to like, let's see. Oh, David Wilcock and the WikiLeaks dump, right? So with that one, let's go over to the browser again here. Let's see. Well, actually, let's not do that. Let's just have a conversation about it, because for me, a lot of people jumped on him saying, well, this is not new information. This is all old information, you know, that's out there. Okay. I don't know how a person can in one day look at the whole WikiLeaks dump and determine that it's all old information. Like, how do you do that? I don't think that's possible. You know, I think that people have to hold their opinion for a little while and see, you know, if it is, including David, maybe, you know, saying, all right, let's take a look at it and find out what is old and what is new. And I'm not going to ever have that time to do that, so I don't really care. The good thing is that they're bringing more attention to this information. That's the whole point of it. So even if it was all old information, you're bringing the attention back on that information. And I think there's a reason they're doing that right now.
There certainly was a massive information, and I understand it did include a lot of the old information, but there does look to be new stuff in there as well.
Oh,
I haven't actually heard a lot since David first talked about it.
Yeah, he hasn't mentioned anything since he first talked about it, but he seemed pretty excited about it. And the thing of it is that I think it came through his insiders, that information. It wasn't like he went on WikiLeaks and all of a sudden knew it was there. So somebody knows something about it, you know?
Well, you can bet that millions of Anons are on it like they were.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep. And they're all being quiet right now, for the most part.
Yeah, well, I looked to see if Jordan Sather has said anything on destroying the illusion. He hasn't, but I could imagine he's like very busy going through those all that information now. So if there is anything on there, he'll soon find it. And looking forward to his next video.
Yeah, hopefully he'll do it that way, you know, and really go through it, because it takes a lot of time to do that. You see the thousands of documents that are there; it's unbelievable.
If not including stuff on Hillary. Should be interesting. Yeah,
there's stuff on even companies and organizations and different things, and how their business practices are. And some of that stuff I don't even understand why it's relevant, but there may be a connection there. I mean, someone needs to go in now and just build a big map, you know, like what's related to what, you know, and
well, what I wondered is, okay, if Q knew that there's something of significance contained in that dump, why wouldn't Q just give us a clue by posting that particular document?
Right.
You know, so to save us some of the work, or what is the purpose of putting us on the scavenger hunt?
I'm thinking it was. I have the feeling that Assange is in trouble, and I think this was his dead man switch. And okay. I think it was just they didn't expect it. I think it just happened, and now it's kind of like now we got to just go and see what's in there. I hope he's okay. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I never want anybody to be harmed, but I haven't heard anything from him or about him since way before this virus, right? There was something about his health before this virus that wasn't so great. I remember.
Yeah, I did hear that if anything happened to him or was likely to happen to him, they were going to just dump all the information. So I know I did hear last time, about a month ago, that he wasn't in good health at all. So I don't know what the proceedings are with the extradition to America.
Yeah. I mean, where is he now? Wasn't he?
He's in the UK. He's still in the UK, in a jail in the UK.
He's in the jail still? Oh.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
I thought I heard he was going to be released from jail, but...
No, I haven't heard anything about that. He should be released from jail. He shouldn't be in jail. I mean, I say he's originally Australian. I'd like to see him back here in Australia where he can be safe, but you never even know if you'd be safe over here.
Right, exactly. Yep, I agree. It's, you don't know where, I mean, if the cabal is involved, you're not safe anywhere, really.
No. One thing that really interests me, if you do see comparison photos of him and Trump's uncle, they're an absolute spitting image of one another.
God, yeah.
And I can believe if Trump really is the real deal, as I believe he is, that he would look after Assange. I mean, he obviously can't say anything yet because Assange is viewed as an enemy over there. But I think Trump knows a lot more than what he's able to say. And I'm hoping that if he does get extradited to the US, that he will be pardoned at one stage. That's if he survives. I mean, the question is his health. I think that's the main worry.
What is the big complaint about him in the UK? Is it just that one case that I thought they dismissed on him? The rape case?
No. Well, they're holding him because America wants to extradite him, and being a close ally of the US, they're complying. So I don't know what charges he's under, well, apart from treason. But he's never. I don't think he's ever done anything bad. He's only released information that was already available.
Huh. Yeah, it's true. Right. I mean, he's released information. I mean, some of it was obviously classified information, but I think he did a pretty good job redacting, names and methods and all that kind of stuff. He always seems to be pretty good.
He's merely a good investigative journalist.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it makes you feel like you can never blow the whistle on anything, because if you do, this is what happens. There's no whistleblower protection. But then, unless it comes to the the Democrats, they go to the other extreme where you don't get to know the whistleblower, right? Because there really isn't one, in that case. So, I mean, that's the sickening part. It's like, how can you not give Assange a chance, but yet you have this other whistleblower who's basically telling lies, and it's been proven to be false, and and you don't get to know the identity of your accuser. I mean, how does that even work? And that doesn't work in our society.
It's also so messed up, isn't it?
It really is. It's sickening. It really is sickening.
Yeah, the nefarious world of geopolitics.
Right. Yep.
I'd like to know what Michael Saller would have to say on the subject, because he's probably one of the foremost authorities on geopolitics. I'd love to hear what he has to say about Assange.
Yeah, me too. I definitely would love to hear that. Yeah. So one of the other subjects I wanted to talk about was there's a new video out with Corey and James Gilliland talking about some spiritual ascension topics and whatnot. And one of the things that they keep bringing up over and over again is this idea that during this ascension period, we're all experiencing a little bit of craziness. And I think you can, let me switch this over, hold on. So the craziness that people are feeling, they're kind of having to go within themselves, and all this stuff keeps coming up and people have to deal with it, right? So he's attributing that to what you're seeing going on in the disclosure community, with people that are sort of lashing out at one another and not being kind to each other, and a lot of the ego keeps coming up. So they were kind of talking about that. I found that to be an interesting correlation there. What do you guys feel about that? Do you think there's something that you can feel yourself, where even within yourself that there's new things or things that are old trauma coming up, or things that you're starting to feel like you're needing to face? Oh, your mic's off, David.
Well, I definitely think that
your mic's on mute, David.
Pretty curious that... Wait, is my mic on?
Yeah, yours is on, but David's is off.
Okay. I do think it's pretty curious, the timing of suddenly everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people suddenly trashing each other or disassociating publicly, especially obviously with Corey. People suddenly turning against Corey and making public statements and misunderstandings and divisions and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's exactly what he was referring to.
I think it probably was.
Pretty curious, the timing of all of it, the timing of the COVID-19 business. And
yeah, it's so weird. Like, everything's happening all at once. It's almost like COVID is part of Ascension, right? Like, it's part of our, it's like the big test. It's like the biggest test you could possibly think of, having a pandemic. How are we gonna respond to that? Are we gonna let authority keep us down forever too? I mean, that's another thing. A lot of people are getting tired of this, being quarantined, and I don't blame them, because we can't sit in fear for the rest of our lives behind closed doors, even if it is bad, right? At some point, we have to make a choice. Yeah. At some point, we have to make a choice.
I think whatever has happened, I believe, whoever started this virus, whether it was deliberate or not, I think nothing happens by accident, and I believe that this is all part of the ascension process. What I have found, I mean, over the last year or so, is the ringing sound in my right ear is much stronger than it's ever been, and I believe that is connected with the galactic frequencies. And I've been experiencing very, very vivid dreams recently. And the funny thing is, I've had people coming up in my dreams that I really haven't thought a lot about, that I haven't seen for a long while. I actually dreamt about a friend who died 2 years ago. We haven't really spoken since we were at school, and he was in my dream. So, yeah, there seems to be a lot of people featuring in my dreams that from the past, a lot from past relationships and that. So I think dreams are your higher self communicating with you some of the time, and that they're trying to tell you something, and and one of the things at the moment is we're being told that we really must complete with certain things. We've got to do our inner work. So you do your inner work, you then find out what's happening in the world, and then you start to share that with people. And then the last stage is you start to encourage other people to share as well. So it's all part of the process.
Yeah, right. It really is. It really is. And I think we're all feeling that energy. It's almost overwhelming. I felt it a lot more before the virus actually hit. I feel like I was already sort of resolving things, and it's funny because you don't even think you still have things left to resolve, especially if you're a spiritually aware person and you're already kind of doing that work on a regular basis. But there's always this one or two things all of a sudden pops up from your past, and you're like, oh man, I haven't thought about that in years. Now I got to really actually think and address this one thing, right?
But a lot of that's happening now.
Yeah, and dreams are a big part of it. Dreams really are a big part of it, like you were just saying. And I know that Stephen had an interesting dream just last night, right? Was it about UFOs?
Yeah, this is a recurring dream, but man, this is one of the most epic versions of the dream. And I don't know what it means. I've been having the dream since I was a little kid, but I have these. I've had these dreams of mass UFO sightings, like where it's like the ultimate possible disclosure, where it's like every single person sees this happening at the same time.
That's amazing.
So this time I was at a shopping center. I was like at Costco or something, or at something like that, Barnes and Noble or something, standing out front, and I see these ships phase in, and it always starts this way. I'm like, does anybody else see this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and these were square-shaped craft, and they were flat on the bottom, and they had lights. And they eventually, there were so many of them, they blacked out the sky, and the lights looked like stars. And then they all took off in unison and like streaked the sky with white light out against black. But who even knows?
And you've had that since you were a kid, those kind of dreams, even before?
Kid, yeah.
Was that before?
I remember what I had in high school. Where it was just like that. It was like, okay, I remember two I had in high school where they were like, okay, one was like, it was like a light show of UFOs that covered the whole sky. And it was like almost, they were making pictures and making like formations, like a kaleidoscope. And then another one was like, okay, it was a, this metal, like it was like a ball that was also like a robot, but it had like an eye on the front of it in legs, and it went zap, and it just stopped like 20 feet in front of me, and then it zipped back off, and then there was like a parade of UFOs.
Wow!
And then there was an ocean, like a tide rolled in. And we were like all standing in the ocean, It was like a whole bunch of people standing in the ocean, my friends and stuff. And then we were taken up into the sky.
Wow, that's so weird. I have similar dream, actually, a recurring dream. It's not like maybe is elaborate, but I have this recurring dream too, where I have they're disc shaped, but they have the same kind of like light show going on underneath them. They have all the different colors. They have the blue, green, red. They're all like kind of like seem like they're changing colors, Then they have a bright white light, and they're putting on like a light show. And starts with one craft, and then other crafts come in. And then at first I'm like trying to get people to see it. I'm like, okay, let me go find people, because like, is anybody else seeing this thing? So I'm like going off to try and find people. And then when I go off and I get people to come back, they either are like way off in the distance where you could barely see them anymore, or it's like a tease, But I'm just like so.
Mine is the opposite.
Yeah,
the opposite of
yours is the opposite. But I also have the flood dream, though. I have a dream about floods all the time, where I'm in knee deep water like that, and that's another correlation to that dream. So that's actually pretty interesting.
I want to say something about this event too. It's really strange because I've had a shift in that. It's literally been the most lucrative month of my life financially.
Really?
As far as my career goes.
Wow.
I've had more commissions. I've made more money than I have in ages. And so I'm making a cup of coffee, but can I tell a little story when I get back?
You absolutely can. I have a story to tell too.
Okay. Yeah, and I have a dream that's related to the dream that Steve was talking about. If you want to hear that one,
we'll go with that one. Then when he gets back, he'll share his and I'll share mine. That sounds good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, the dream I had, it was back in '93. I was living in a suburb of Sydney called Coogee in the eastern suburbs, and I'll never forget this. In the dream, I saw dark clouds above, and there was lightning, and I could see these lights flashing through the clouds. Next thing,
you sound
come down. It was a big black orb, and it had 6 arms coming off of it, and each arm had a orb on it, a big black orb on the end. And I remember feeling real fear from this thing. It was like really, really sinister. And suddenly the whole scene changed. Next thing, all the clouds disappeared, and there was this bright blue sky. It was daytime, even though it was night that I was asleep. And next thing, I saw literally hundreds of thousands of different UFOs. They're all different designs, all different colors. And these weren't sinister. These were obviously the good guys, and they were landing on every continent of the earth. They just kept landing, and I'm thinking, wow, this is fantastic. Next thing, I imagined that I'd woken up, but I wasn't awake. I was actually still asleep. But it was like, when you come out of a sleep and you come through the layers, so you're in deep sleep, and then you come out in lighter sleep, then you finally wake up. And suddenly I was in my bedroom, and I saw 2 greys walk through the door, 2 grey aliens, and they walked up to me, and then boom, that was it. I woke up, and I can't remember anything after that.
Wow.
And I've often thought to myself, this is way back in '93, and I thought I should get someone to regress me and actually go through that dream and then see if that was actually an encounter rather than just a dream.
Yeah, because
there seems to be a message in it.
Yeah, you never know. It could be a real encounter. A lot of people describe the dream state, and then later on, the years go on, they realize it was actually a real scenario, because for some of these people, it happens repeatedly, and then after a while, I think your brain catches up,
Well, later on, I met somebody that same year. I think a year later, I met a lady that I ended up marrying, and she used to be a nurse. And then one day she said to me, "Hey, on your left shoulder," she goes, "You ever had an operation there?" I said, "No." And the funny thing is, from the day of that dream, I've had this incessant itching. I still get it now in the left shoulder. Every now and again, it just starts really itching, and I'll scratch it. And and so she saw this scar and said it reminded her of where people have had stitches after an operation. Now, I've never had an operation, so to this day, it's left me thinking, well, I wonder if I have some sort of implant in there. I don't know.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, you never know. I mean, it would be interesting to get it scanned at some point to see if you could find anything in there.
It would.
How does a person get a scar? How does a person get a scar without something happening? You would know, especially if you injured yourself.
Well, I've always been interested in UFOs, anything to do with the paranormal. But from the day I had that dream, the interest I had in all of this stuff seemed to accelerate. It became a lot more intense. So it's definitely that dream, whether it did involve an encounter with aliens or not, something happened and everything intensified from that moment. And then I've been so much more interested in finding out about the UFO phenomenon since the day of that dream. So something happened.
Wow. I mean, I guess that's what happens, right? I mean, something comes to you, somehow where it triggers an interest. But anyway, so, excuse me, I'll share my quick dream from last night before Stephen tells his story. I had a dream that Ben Chastain actually sent me a message, right? And in the message was like an image, but the image was like more like a video, but it was a still video. I don't know how to say it. You ever seen those movies where you've got like the whole scenery is just stopped and like you're walking through the scenery? Yeah, you know what I mean? That kind of surreal thing. So I'm walking through this scene and I'm going into this, it's like a room, like a living room. And in the living room, there are cards everywhere, like just playing cards. So there's playing cards on the floor. The lamp is looks like it has playing cards all glued to it, but I can't make out any of the cards. And all of a sudden, a hand reaches down, just a hand, grabs one of the cards and shows it to me. And it was the 5 of clubs. And when I looked it up today, it has something to do with, the way that the spiritual folks interpret it is good fortune and that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that's maybe a message for him, where they just got themselves cut off the other day from the live stream and they're all worried about what's going to happen next. And that just happened. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting connection. I'll have to dig more into what the 5 of club means, though.
But something just like that happened.
Really?
Like 2 nights ago to me too.
Oh,
okay. So, I was talking to a friend. This is a friend I've been talking to a lot, just in Instagram messages, and so I dreamed that that friend and I were looking up terms on a computer. Am I still? Are we still?
Yeah, we're still live. Okay. Is it something you need to cut out?
I see 2 of me on there up on the.
Yeah,
okay. I see what's going on. Yeah, but a particular search term that she mentioned in the dream is a word that doesn't exist, and then she searched that term, and James Gilliland came up.
Really?
So that was a strange thing.
And gosh!
Which is like, and he's like somebody he's actually headlining our conference or our
yeah.
But
Camp Disclosure. I signed up for it today.
Good. Yeah. we need to plug that.
Yes, definitely. Camp Disclosure. Don't miss it.
What I wanted to tell you about was that, okay, so in the beginning of this quarantine, this, this whole event, I felt good. I felt, very positive, like, oh, yes, this is the storm, Mm-hmm. And I feel that way again. But I felt that way for a bit, and then I saw a very scary video on YouTube. It was just like, oh, here's a different perspective. And this guy was building a case. Probably not a lot of people know who this is and what it is. Building a case that no, actually, all Trump is like another part of the New World Order. And
yeah, I heard that.
This whole thing, the storm, is just to dupe all of us conspiracy theorists.
Yeah,
playing right into Trump's hands and the New World Order's hands, so that we're not in any trouble, right? And I was like, oh, that sounds reasonable. And this has crossed my mind before, but I think someone saying it and making a case for it made it very scary. Okay.
Yeah.
So I meditated on manifesting. I'm a believer that there are multiple timelines. Mm-hmm. The future's not written, or it is written in the sense that it's all simultaneous, but we choose our timelines.
Right.
So meditate on choosing the timeline, the ideal timeline. Okay. Now, I had written. I received a text at this moment. All right. And the text was from a friend that said, I've sent a check for X amount of money that will arrive there at this particular date. Okay?
Yeah.
And then I remembered, okay, the other day I had found a note that I tacked to my wall. This sounds like I'm making it up. Okay? It is 100% true.
Okay.
I've never had anything like this happen in my life. Okay. So, several months ago, about a half a year ago or more, I had written down on a piece of paper and tacked to my wall a particular amount of money and a particular date. And the text that this guy sent, it was the exact amount of money on the exact date.
Oh my God!
And I have photographic evidence of it.
Wow!
I wrote it on a piece of paper, and the date of the text, and the date of me dropping it into my bank account. I meditated on seeing that number in my bank account, and I got it actually a day earlier. I got it in my mailbox a day earlier than he said, and I waited so that I could deposit it in my bank account on that exact day.
Wow, that's incredible.
That was absolute to me confirmation from the universe. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
This is not Nazi Germany. Right. This was an absolute confirmation that we do not live in a system of randomness. We live in a loving universe that cares about our lives.
Yeah, I truly.
And that's what that message was to me.
I agree. I agree, Steve. I had a dream that one night I went to bed and I knew that my football team in England, Arsenal, were going to be playing Manchester United. I think it was Man United. Anyway, I'd love to have watched this, but because of the timing, I'm normally asleep. Anyway, before I woke up, I think the game would have been on about 4 a.m. our time or 5 a.m. or something. Anyway, I was asleep and I dreamt the whole game. I dreamt it, and Arsenal won 3-0. Anyway, I woke up and thought, wow, I've just been watching the game and thinking, well, we're bound to have lost. And then I put the radio on, and on the news they said, oh, Arsenal have just beat Man United 3-0 at home at Emirates Stadium. I can't believe it. I watched the game in my dream. Incredible.
That's incredible.
The exact score, huh?
Yeah, the exact score, 3-0. And it was not a score that I would have imagined, because at the time, Man United probably just had the edge on Arsenal. And it was when both teams were probably the two top teams. And it looked like Arsenal would be lucky to pull off a draw or maybe a 1-0 win. So I never expected that scoreline. 3-0 was actually quite amazing.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah, and I got to watch the game while I was asleep. How's that?
There you go. Yeah. You don't even have to go back to it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And another thing I just wanted to say, I did share in your group recently about a dream I had. You were talking about Trump, Stephen, and it has occurred to me sometimes thinking, because I believe in Trump and the Patriots and the Alliance, and I need to believe in that stuff because I know there's so much evil stuff out there.
Right.
But it has occurred to me sometimes I thought, well, what if this is a really clever ruse so that they can get everyone like us, all of these people that are into the Ascension community and disclosure, what if they can keep them occupied while something else is going on and really is all a big fallacy? So I've considered that. I've rejected it. I'm hoping that is not the case. So I really do believe that if that is the case, we are in very deep trouble. But I don't want to believe that. And so
as an empath, I don't feel that at all. As an empath, I'm so connected to the idea of the Q being a good thing. And
I agree.
Even if it's not, as powerful as they're leading on, to me, Q is about what the people want. It's about.
Yes, I agree.
And like he was saying, like Stephen was saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but what Stephen was saying about how the power of manifesting and our ability to manifest like that, I think that just through the collective mindset, we have this power to make the right thing happen. Even if it's a LARP or if this program falls apart, the people are raising the vibration of the planet. But yeah,
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And the dream I had, I was sitting in a Trump conference, and I was in the front row, and of all people with me was my ex-wife. Anyway, she started asking him questions, and he was answering her questions, and she was questioning him. She didn't really believe in him, and I did. So I'm just sitting there smiling, thinking, yeah, I know. Anyway, the next thing I know, he walked off, and this lady came on, and then suddenly there was a person in our row, and they wanted to investigate him because they thought he was a security threat. And we said, oh, no, he's with us, he's okay. And then the next thing, we were having to prepare for some sort of party or some sort of event that was coming up. Next thing, I saw myself with a sword. I had a huge, great big medieval sword in a scabbard on my left-hand side. And I'm thinking, oh, this is great. And someone comes up to me and says, hey, no, you're not dressed right. You've got to get on the right clothes. Everyone's getting changed now. And I said, well, what have I got to wear? Medieval armor. You've got to. It's coming up to the time with an event where you've got to put on your armor. So it's no good just having the sword. It's no good just being there and talking. You've actually got to put on your armor and get ready for the war. And I'm like, holy Moses. And I woke up after that and thought, wow, I can't believe I was actually sitting at a Trump conference and that happened. But I think there was something symbolic in that, saying that, yeah, we really have got to start to protect ourselves now, and the real battle is on. So I do agree with you. I think Trump is one of the goodies, and I believe in the alliance, and I need to believe in this stuff. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
I just had a dream about Trump 2 nights ago. So, Trump 2 nights ago, I had a dream that I was staying at the White House, and I was staying like on it was like a double height bed, like it was twice as high as a regular bed, right? And there's a maid who's like cleaning up the room around me. Trump is standing in the doorway, and I'm like, oh well, I'm a guest at the White House somewhere, and so I'm saying to Trump, I say, it's like it's not enough time. You get the first 4 years to get some good ideas rolling, and then the second 4 years you get these ideas implemented just in time for someone else to come along and wreck it. Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, exactly. And I'm not politically astute at all.
Right.
If I was sitting here talking about politics of Trump, I'd be terrified. But he said exactly, and then he said that's why you have to get many pieces working on many different levels, and that's what we're doing.
Wow.
It's like that 4D chess thing, you know.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
But picking up on something somebody said, it's for me. It's beyond hope. It's beyond me having to believe. It's that it is a very bad strategy if you're going to try to take over a population by waking them up and making and like actually strengthening their resolve to be sovereign individuals, to claim their sovereignty and say, no way, like I am in charge of what I inject into my body.
Yep.
All of it, you know. There's a spirit of individualism and national sovereignty that you wouldn't want to pump up if your plan was to overtake people.
Right. You might do a little bit of that, but you wouldn't be so heavily into that being your main thing that you stand by. It wouldn't
turn everybody into researchers. It's like they're teaching us how to think for ourselves, and that's the last thing that you would want to do. That's what Q is doing, is teaching us how to research and do our own legwork.
Yeah, there's no brainwashing involved here at all when you think of it from that perspective. That's a very good point, because that's we were always saying, well, why did they just dump this information and not give us all the answers? Because they want us to do the work. Wow. We just came around. Yeah, we just came around full circle on that one. Wow, that's fantastic.
Another thing in my research, I mean, Trump has never been a member of any of the Bilderberg Group or the Trilateral Commission, all of these deep state organizations of people. He's never been associated with any of that, and apparently that is one of the reasons why the alliance chose him. He was a self-made billionaire. He was his own man. He wasn't beholden to anyone else. That is why he was selected to represent the alliance and to run for the presidency.
Yeah. I mean, you would need somebody like that who was not in the inside, because, I mean, think about how bad it is for him right now where he wasn't in the inside. And they're trying to make it look like he's connected to people like Epstein and all this other stuff just because there was a photo of him standing next to the guy, you know? It's like, where's your real evidence?
That's what Trump does, man.
Yeah.
He keeps his enemies close. Right. He keeps everybody close.
He really does.
He knows everybody who you need to know, and he knows who they are.
Yep.
As individuals.
Yeah, he knows all the players. He knows how to play the players too.
Exactly.
He's a very smart man, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, 4D chess. It's like he's always a step ahead of us. You know, when you hear when I heard him, nothing surprises me anymore. When I heard him talking about the whole disinfectant thing, and I'm like, okay, all right, Pete, I know what's going to happen here. I know exactly what was going to happen. The MSM's going to go crazy, and everybody's going to think he's insane. And there's going to be good, information to back it. It doesn't even faze me anymore. I don't even think about it.
I think it's exactly what he wants. I think he is giving them something to to freak out on, and then he's got the actual answer up his sleeve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
do you think he really has access to that Project Looking Glass technology? Because if he has, and his administration have, that's why they could be always a few steps ahead of the enemy.
I'm thinking they do. You know, because Q mentioned that a couple of different times, right? What does he say? Going forward to look back, or something like that? Is that what they say? Yeah, going forward to look back. That's
well, they actually say the word "looking glass" or the phrase "looking glass."
Yep. Yeah, that's insane to think about. And you know, I think they took that technology away from the Cabal. I don't think they have access to it anymore. And there was also another thing too. They said something about Corey was saying something about if you have after 2012. I think that the certain technology they couldn't see past 2012 for one thing. And I think it was because if your intentions were not right, you weren't going to be able to use the technology anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I heard there was also a merging of the timelines, and what Corey was saying is that the time, I think it was either Corey or David, they were saying that the timelines all merged, and they were left with two timelines. And the first one was the negative timeline where the deep state got their way and everything, we were all under their control and all the evil stuff happened. But the other timeline was where the Alliance won and the deep state were brought down, the arrests all go ahead, and they said that the second timeline became stronger and stronger and stronger. So what they found was the merging of the timelines, they were coming together. And that had a big impact on Looking Glass, where they actually ceased to be able to see too far ahead in the future.
Yeah, that whole merging of the timeline thing kind of blows my mind when I think about it. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around how that all works.
Yeah, well, being a science fiction writer, I'm into this sort of stuff, but even for me, it's like hard to get my head around it all.
Yeah, the multiple simultaneous universes and
for some reason it's easy for me to understand. At least I think it's okay. So like being an artist, I see it all as a picture. Well, you know, I can really make sense of it. Yeah, I guess is seeing it as like a sculpture or as a painting, where the whole thing is done, the whole thing is completed, the whole thing is one object, but we're just like an ant on the surface that's choosing a path. So time is all simultaneous. It's one picture, but the ant chooses the path through which it travels.
Right.
So the direction that it moves is the timeline. But see, when we're viewing from our, it's like we're moving with
linear,
with blinders on. We can only see what's in front of us. Remember what's behind us, but we don't see what's in the periphery.
But we can choose our timeline, so we have a choice. We can, if we want to, we can focus on that negative timeline, and that could be where we go. If that's where we choose to place our focus. I don't. Right? I like to research that stuff, but I always place my focus on the ascension process, the fact that we're moving into fourth density. I believe in the Alliance. I believe in Trump and the Patriots, and that is where I put the 99% of my focus, and that's the timeline I want to be on. I don't want to be on the other one.
Yeah, me too. So, but there's really only one ultimate timeline, though, right? If the timelines are converging, right, isn't there one selective timeline that our consciousness understands, and that we're switching timelines, but we're always going along with the active timeline? That's the way I think of it. It's like,
and consciousness creates the timeline. So if you can get enough people, this is what the ascension process is all about. By getting everyone together and all focusing on this timeline, we are strengthening the timeline, or we are making it happen. So,
which is reportedly, or allegedly, why there's so many apocalypse movies. Why there's so many dystopian films. is so that we're all focusing on that type of a future.
Yeah, because that's what the deep state want. They want us to focus on the negative timeline, and so I won't. I found, like, I have Netflix, and I found recently I'm not watching all the doomsday stuff and the zombie apocalypses and anything like that. I don't want to see them. I want to see. I like to watch the comedies. I still watch The Big Bang Theory because it makes me laugh, and I want to watch things with a positive future and things that support what I want. I don't want to watch all that negative stuff anymore. I can't handle horror movies, and especially the ones that I hate. I love science fiction, but I hate horror science fiction. And anything like Alien and that, I'm just really not interested in it anymore. I've rejected all that.
Okay, so I have a philosophical question for you with that in mind. Okay, so I've had this debate with a friend of mine who she doesn't want to think about the negative things that are happening to children, okay?
Yeah.
Because she feels like by thinking about it, I'm giving energy to that negative event and helping to create it. So where is that balance between...
I think with that, you have to consider we're all manifesting at once, right? And the dark people are manifesting, and the good people are manifesting. So in some ways, it kind of, you can see where the people who don't want to face it are playing a role in a way, you know? But somebody has to face it in order to battle it, right? In order to bring it down.
I believe, well, to answer your question, I believe it's absolutely vital. I think I was saying earlier, I might have been saying to Rick earlier, I believe that what we've got to do, first of all, we do our inner work, right? Secondly, we need to make ourselves aware of events occurring. And so when you talk about the children, we need to be aware of that. So if you want to be involved in this type of work, you can't just reject that out of hand. I mean, I've spent 25 years researching all this stuff, and yes, I've got really deep into it at some stage, and I've pulled myself a little bit back from it now. And I think if you are going to focus all your attention on that and put all your attention on that, then that does feed it. But you've got to be aware of it. And once you've done that, you've then got to start to connect with the community. You've got to connect with other people. You've got to share sensitively. Can't just force it down their throats, and you can't just be talking about all the negative stuff all the time. You've got to start focusing on where you want to go, what you want to achieve. You've then got to start sharing that with people. And then the final stage, which I hope I'm in this final stage now, is not only sharing it with people sensitively, but also encouraging them sensitively to share it with other people sensitively as well. So I've got to this point now when, I've gone through those, like, you've got to hear this, you've got to see all this negative stuff, and I still look at it. But at the same time, once you've got that, then you must put the bulk of your focus on what you're wanting to achieve.
That's exactly what I do. I do the same exact thing where I know it. I don't need to dig into it anymore. I know exactly what it is. I can just keep that in the back of my mind and keep forging ahead with the idea of sharing disclosure type information and trying to bring, plant seeds wherever I can go.
Yeah, well, one of my friends said the other day, I said to him, well, I officially retire in June. At the end of June, I get my private pension for the UK. And he said, he goes, it's amazing to think. He says, it worries me to think that friends that I went to school with are now retiring. He's still working, he's got his own business. And I said, well, actually, I said officially retiring. I said, I'm not retired. In fact, I've never worked harder. So one, as a novelist, I'm writing, planning. Two, I am interacting with various Facebook groups and talking to people in my everyday life every day about this sort of stuff. I said, Doc, I'm featuring on your show now, And it's like, well, why am I doing this? Is it just that I want to do it for entertainment? No. I feel like I want to contribute. If I've got something that I can say that will help people, that's what I'll do. Now, this is unpaid work. All right, I get a little bit of money coming in from my novel, not a lot, but I actually don't really need an income now, which is a good thing. It's put me in me in a good position after working for 40 years, that now my work doesn't have to be something that produces direct income anymore. Nevertheless, it is still work. Sitting here and just discussing this sort of thing, researching this sort of thing, but praying and meditating and sharing with people, that is work. So this is what I do now. It would be nice if, it did produce income, but as I said, I don't really need it. So I'm now very, very fortunate to be in a position where I can do what they say in the law of one, being 51% plus service to others. I don't need to have to think, if I do this, will this produce income for me? No, it won't. Therefore, I've got to go and do some menial task that will produce income. I'm not in that position anymore. And it's a luxury to be there.
That's
and
liberating.
I thank God every day that I am now in that position.
Yeah, and it brings up the question of what would we all do if money wasn't an issue, right? Like, how would you spend your days? How would you spend your life if money wasn't an issue? If money wasn't an issue, probably we wouldn't have a cabal, right? So
I think I wouldn't do much different. I would still be making paintings and graphic novels.
Yeah, but you've aligned early with your calling, with your passion. But a lot of people haven't had that opportunity. They haven't had that ability, to kind of do that. I know a lot of people who grew up and really didn't have any direction. They didn't know what they wanted to do, including myself, actually. I didn't get into computer science until I was almost 30 years old. I had all kinds of different jobs before I figured out what I wanted to do. And luckily, I did finally align with my purpose. But yeah, if we threw out the dollar and we threw out this slavery system, I think people would be doing a lot of different things, and I think they would be adding things too. Even if you do already love what you do, you might even expand that a little bit, right? Because now you're not worried about the money as much, because you're always going to be, sometimes you're even in that area, you're working really hard and not able to.
Well, I worked in the corporate world for, I think it was 38 years, almost 40 years, and I always wanted to write. I always wanted to be having conversations like this, and so I started 8 years ago writing my novel. I did that part-time. I found it very, very hard. So I had a job in, first of all, I was an underwriter for a while, and then I was doing claims, like natural hazard claims. So it was very, very stressful stuff. And then, fortunately, I was able to leave that behind and then start doing what I'm doing now. So what I'm doing what I'm doing now is what I always wanted to be doing, to be writing, to be researching, to be sharing, to feature on shows like this and discussing this thing. So I'm actually doing what I always wanted to be doing. And it's as I say, I thank God every day that I'm in that position to do that.
Yeah, while we're on that topic, let's see if I can bring that up. Hold on for just a second. I'm having a little bit of slowness in the system here. Okay, let me bring up the browser and show folks your book that you wrote there, Torah Legacy. And I just ordered this book, and I'm excited. I actually don't read much, and when I read the premise behind the book, I realized it's really gonna be exciting to go through it and to read this story. Let me just, I can't.
It's fantastic. So, it is how's the book doing? Do you have an audible version of it?
No, I don't. It's available on Amazon, both as a paperback and as an ebook. and it's sold quite well, but it's not earning me a great deal of money. It was just it was wonderful to get it out there, to actually get a book published. One of the things I did do, I made it available on Amazon. So if you subscribe, if you pay an annual fee, you can go into their library and read their books online for free. And I subscribed to that. I didn't have to. I could have just had it where you had to pay for it, but I did that. So with the amount of people that had been doing that would probably equal to the amount of sales I've had. But I would say probably I'd be up there towards the 1,000 readers by now. And the main thing from my point of view was to get it out there. It took 7 years to write it. I believe a lot of it was channeled information. Once I finished the book, I was actually shocked to hear about the secret space program, and I started to take an interest in the secret space program, only to discover that much of the technology I'd written about and saying we're going to have that in 200 years' time, which I thought was a tall order, because a lot of the technology I describe is very, very out there. And I thought, do you think we'd really have this in 200 years' time? I thought, well, we'll go for it. Like I described actually having colonies out there in other star systems. I think I said in the book we had 11 other colonies. Well, according to the secret space program, we actually have those colonies now. 12 colonies, I think Corey said. So what I thought was a tall order for 200 years' time, the secret space program is saying we actually have this technology now. We have these colonies now. The other thing that really shocked me is that a friend of mine, Leonard O'Neill, he's really into the law of one, and on his show Orion Rising, he talks about the law of one. So I got into that. I downloaded the 5 books of the law of one, started reading it, and lo and behold, many of the terms I use and a lot of the concepts I use are all in the Torah legacy. It's like, wow, I never even heard of the law of one before, and it's in there. I talk about the logos, I talk about all sorts of things that come up, and the concepts of what God is, His pure consciousness, how we're all connected with it, how we're all connected with one another. There is a divine plan of creation, and like I was blown away. It's like, how on earth did I understand the law of one and put it in there when I hadn't even read it? How did I get all this technology that I believe, I mean, I don't know if this is true, but I did feel this information was being sent to me. I used to think, maybe it's my higher self, or maybe even God is sending it to me. But then when Corey Good talks about the Anshar, talks about those eggs that they lie in and they're able to connect with humanity, he says they're future humans, fourth density humans that have come back to Earth to impact our timeline because they saw that something very bad was going to be influencing us. He said about all that, and he said these Anshar connect with people. They try to uplift their consciousness individually and as groups because they want to uplift human consciousness. So I asked myself the question: was one of those Anshar sitting in one of those little shells that Corey talks about, finding that, there's a guy here that's interested in this stuff, he's always been interested in this, let's feed him some information. So maybe this comes directly from the Anshar, who knows?
That's incredible. That's an incredible thought, right? Oops, what happened there?
I think you really will enjoy the novel, though, Rick. From what we were saying, I think once you get into it, I mean, it's in 3 parts, and the first part's all war and battling and everything. The second part, it goes a lot quieter because we're concentrating on the unity of all the races in our galaxy, and they have to get together. And then the last bit is where we really have to work together to save our galaxy from destruction.
That just sounds so intense, I gotta. I
think you'll love it.
And yeah, where we go one, where we go all.
That's my favorite phrase now.
Now, this is a thought that Desiree. This is a thought that.
Hey, Desiree.
A thought that came to me, and I've been thinking about that. I think we spoke about this too, like where the one we go all, law of one, where everything is part of that. all. But then I started thinking, okay, there was these Q drops that said things like how this, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but Q says this is so much bigger than you could possibly imagine. I remember the way you phrased that.
Yes.
This is so much bigger. And then I think, well, how much bigger? Like, bigger than...
Kind of like he says you have more than you know.
Like, it's all over the world, right? But what if it extends? What if the plan actually extends further into the cosmos than we think? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting to think about. The one thing that really throws me a lot is this idea that the Anshar, they're us from the future, right? They're supposed to be us from the future.
Yeah.
So, and they're concerned about our timeline, but yet they're existing in the same timeline. Well, they're existing in the future, and they're okay. So, what is the real concern about our timeline if they're us from the future? So that's like I'm trying to understand that part. Like
Mandela effects. That's what they said.
They're getting Mandela effects up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why they said they came here.
It's probably
because they wanted to. Yeah.
I wonder what they are, though. I wonder what's happening. Like, my daughter was here yesterday. Now she's not here. It's like what kind of things are happening?
And the thing is, this is an extension of the Lyran Wars. So when you get into the Lyran Wars, it's all about the reptilians, the Draco, and it's all about the humans warring throughout hundreds of millions of years, and this is an extension of these Lyran Wars. And apparently one of the reasons they came is just what Desiree said, that there was a disruption of the timelines around this time. They said that it was because of the pandemic interference. It was the interference of the Draco coming here and causing a massive disruption, and they realized that we as a race, it wasn't supposed to happen like this, and we didn't have the technology and the know-how to be able to fight it. That's why they've come to help us. Apparently they went way back in our past, so it actually turns out that the future Anshar went all the way back, established a colony in our past, and then built bases, and they've been here for a long while because of that. And now it's all so coming to a head at this time.
The thing is still hard to understand. It's like, okay, so you're having Mandela effect. Did you all of a sudden start having the Mandela effect? Did something happen where someone was screwing with the timelines? Like in the past, like someone went into the past and actually physically did something to the timeline where it's causing this effect. That's what I think. Because
apparently,
it's some kind of time travel, and that even in and of itself is even harder to put your mind around, because the idea of time travel, the whole paradox effect, where you're saying you can't, if you went back in time and I don't know, you killed your grandfather or your father or whatever, you wouldn't exist. Like,
no, I don't think that actually happens, because what happens if you go back and do that, my belief is that it creates another timeline. So
another reality.
You create another reality. So another timeline emerges that didn't exist before. So you're saying you can't just stop to exist. So your timeline actually is already happening, so you can't stop that, and so you go back, you kill your grandfather, it then creates a completely different timeline without you in it, but you still continue on your timeline. And this is the sort of stuff that the Draco were mucking around with, and that's why the Anshar was saying, and the Blue Avians came back here and said, hey, we can't let this happen. And that's why there's so much focus from the ETs on Earth at this time. This is really
starting to make sense now. This is finally starting to make sense.
Head spinning!
Yeah. I mean, it really is starting to make sense, because if you think about how science does allow for these things, it allows for multiple simultaneous universes, everything happening at the same time. I don't know if they get into the idea of convergence of timelines or convergence of universes. Would be the timeline and the universe be the same thing, essentially? Like if you have multiple timelines, you have multiple universes also. Is that a one-to-one correlation there?
Well, I call it the multiverse. There isn't really a single universe. I believe it's there are layers all happening at once. With regard to time. I mean, I believe that the universe and time are all illusionary. Everything is actually happening all at once. But the only thing is, when you create star systems and there's electromagnetic energy fields, what that does, it creates the illusion of linear time. So we're living in an illusion, but it was necessary for us to live in that illusion to be able to have the experiences that get fed back to the creator, so the creator can experience what you experience. So the creator grows through our experience, although from the creator's point of view it all happens at once. Even our higher selves, apparently. People say to me, I don't believe in past lives or future lives or anything like that. And I said, well, in a way you're right, because it's actually all happening at once. And so if you imagine your higher self, I always describe it as, imagine an island in an ocean. You've got a man standing on an island and he's got all these fishing rods and puts them all in the ocean. Each fishing rod goes to a different part of the ocean, and each one of these is all happening at once from his perspective. But if you go down into the ocean, it's all separate and compartmentalized. And I believe that's what happens not only in realities, but also in time. So as I'm a past life regression therapist. So when I regress someone, or I've sent people in progressions as well, where they've looked at future lives, what you're actually doing when they go into the lives, it's dynamic. It's really, it's happening right there and then when they're there. So you're not actually sending them back into something that happened a long while ago and isn't happening. It's actually happening now. I'll just tell you one quick story. And I had a friend that I brought here to do a regression. So I did a regression with her, and she went back and saw some really good things. And she said, that was fantastic. And I said, hey, would you like to do an experiment? I said, I'd like to send you back to Atlantean times, because I've done a regression back to Atlantean times and I've seen what I've seen. And I said, would you like to go back? And she goes, yeah, sure. So I tried to regress her, and she goes, well, I've got a problem. She says, I've never actually lived in Atlantean times. She says, but I can still go back if you want. I said, how can you do that? I said, how can you do that? And she says, I don't know, but I know I can. She said, if you want me to, I can go to any time you want. So I said, all right. So I sent it back.
Wow.
I got her to imagine, listen to this part, this is going to blow your mind up. I got her to imagine that she was going through a tunnel. And I said, right, you're going back, 10,000 years, take yourself back. When you get to a point when you're past 10,000 years ago and you're already, I said, just imagine you can put your head above ground and look. And she says, okay, yeah, I'll do that. She did. And she goes, wow. And she described it. It was really quite spacey. And she said, there's actually 3 people walking towards me. She said, she goes, they're priests. They're Atlantean priests. She said, they're dressed in gold, in purple robes. And she says, she says, they've just noticed me. I said, they've noticed you? She goes, yeah, they know I'm here. I said, well, say hello to them. So she did. She started talking to them, and they coaxed her up. So she went up onto the ground level, and she said she was talking to these 3 Atlantean priests. And she said, wow, she goes, you know, the one in the middle, he's very familiar to me. And I said, who does he remind you of? And she says, you.
No
I said,
kidding.
me. She you, he's in a purple robe. And I said, well, tell him who you're with and tell him what you're doing here. And she did. And she said, he's very interested and he would like to talk to you. So what we were doing, I said, if I just describe certain things to him about our world, tell him about them, and then he can tell us about his world. And then he was doing that. And I was having a conversation with a past life via my subject who I'd regressed. She's acting as a go-between and talking to him. It absolutely blew me away.
That's incredible. Wow.
David, do you have a YouTube channel?
No, not yet. I'm thinking about it though.
I think it'd be neat if I enjoy listening to like guided past life regression meditations on YouTube.
Yeah, you should totally do that, David, because the little video that you made for the meditation, I just wanted more. It was too short, and I was already like in the groove, and I'm like, it's done. That's it.
That was just an info. That was just a quick meditation I do. It's literally to relax myself and to cleanse the energy field. But I've got longer versions of that I could do. I've got a violet flame meditation, which is supposed to clear all entity attachments, implants and things like that. You might be interested in that. I've got ones that you visualize different colors for all of the different chakras. I've never really thought of making a video or doing that live up to now, and it just occurred to me the other day, let's just make a little video, put it out there. I haven't even put it on my Facebook page. I've shared it with a couple of groups. And I just thought, put it out there, just see how it goes and see what people think.
We got some great feedback on it.
Well, you got 3 subscribers right here.
And you have. And then you also had there was a couple other people that made some comments about it, and they really liked it. They said, "Oh, I'm glad I did that."
Oh, that's great to hear. And I would like to, anyone that's watching this in your group now, I'd like to say hello to all my new friends and family that have joined our group recently. I put out the call to around 20 people, I think. So 12 or 13 people have actually joined. They're all friends of mine now, so it's like having family together in your little group.
And also, you're all invited to join our weekly fireside chat here. And even if you're not, you don't want to talk or participate, you can still come in and listen. And we're also streaming live to Facebook on our Facebook page.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Surprise!
Interesting.
You're being watched.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not used to that at all.
I sometimes think, when you're really putting yourself out there, you are taking a massive risk of being attacked and everything. But it's funny. The other dream I had about a month ago, I think I told you, Rick. It was a dream of a future version of Dave. And in this, I was stepping out. I was talking to people more. I was talking on YouTube. I was talking on Facebook, and people in dreams. Someone said to me, "Oh no, you shouldn't be doing that because you're putting yourself out there and open yourself up to attack." And it's like, well, yeah, I'll be doing that one day. And I saw it as maybe in a year's time, 2 years' time. And suddenly it's happening. I'm finding that now I am much more engaged than I was. I am having these conversations in public, and I'm sharing stuff that I would never have dreamt of sharing only 2 months ago. Exactly. I was scared to do so, but I'm thinking the reason I'm doing this, I'm not doing this because I want to do it. I'm doing it because I think it really needs to be done. As I spoke to Jordan Saylor recently at Disclosure Down Under, and Jordan looks so tired. I went up to him and we were just having a little bit of a chat, and I said, I love what you do, Jordan. I said, I've been following you for a couple of years.
Not to interrupt, I'll be right back. I got to take a quick break.
I said, you really enjoy what you're doing, obviously. And he said, no, he goes, I don't do this because I like it. He says, I do it because someone needs to do it. And that was fantastic. I mean, just about summed it up.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing. You have amazing stories. You could just... I say you can write a book, but you do write books.
You should write a book.
Wait a minute, you have.
I'm writing a book on the secret space program now.
Would you be able to hypnotize me?
Yeah, I could do. I was saying to Rick the other day. I think I was saying to Rick, I could do some. I could do this online probably, and I've never attempted that online, but. I could do.
Yeah, because I really would like to stop smoking. And I've tried. I tried about the patches, and I got sick off the patches. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought that was going to work for me. I need a little extra help because I'm addicted. And it's not like I could just stop. I get this like feeling like, oh, I need this nicotine. So, but I really want to stop smoking because I went to hiking a while back, and I was going up the mountain, and my lungs burned so bad. And I'm like, okay, I have to stop smoking. This is so dangerous for me. I've only been smoking for about 4 years.
No, I'd like to help you with that, Desiree. And I mean, no charge. I mean, I just do it as a friend. I mean, I reckon one, 2, 3, maybe even just one session. As I said, the guy I worked with a long while, I've only ever done this with one person because my speciality was past. But I had good results with that, and yeah, it went really well. I found out what his motivation was. It was his wife was going to have a child. He wanted to be a good example, so I worked on that. I got him to visualize his future self being completely free of smoking, having efficient lungs, and breathing fresh air. And I got him to look back at how he first started smoking, and we found out in the regression it was he did it as a rebel. It was to really put finger up at people. He says, yeah, so I knew my parents and my teachers and everyone wouldn't like it, and that's why I did it. So then we dealt with that, and I got him to see that he didn't need to be a rebel anymore. And it just came to me. It was a 1 hour session. As I said, after that, he cut down from about 30 to 3, and he said, I just have it occasionally now, but from choice, not from addiction. So there you go.
Wow.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's great. We should have some of these sessions on do them live maybe.
Yeah. Well, if you want to play the video at any stage, the little one I made, then feel free to do that.
Let's do that. Let's do that right now. Let me bring in the browser. That would be great, yeah. I think it's going to be right in here. Close that. Okay.
And also, if you don't mind, I'd love you to show that picture of myself and Chuck Raymond holding the golden sphere-headed being at Dimensions of Disclosure. That's one of my favorite photos of all time.
All right, we'll show that too. Let me get into the group, and I think the video is not too far down, I don't think. Did we put it? We did put it in the. Yeah, we did put it in here.
It's in the group. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, there it is. Here it is.
Oh, there you go.
All right, here we go. Let's play this out. Hopefully, you can hear it. Let's see what happens.
Hi, everybody.
Can you hear it?
My name is Dave Dennis, and I would like to share with you a short meditation that I do every day.
It's not working. Hold on.
It was.
The sound.
We could hear it. We couldn't see it.
Couldn't see it. So let's try the video one more time.
And I would.
Oh, wow, that's weird. All right, let me try.
I'd like to share with you a short meditation that I do every day.
Huh. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me try a refresh.
And just go back to the beginning as well, Rick.
Yeah, right here.
Are we going to follow along on this meditation?
Yes, let's follow along.
It's only 4 minutes.
It's only 4 minutes.
Hi, everybody.
There we go.
My name is Dave Dennis, and I would like to share with you a short meditation that I do every day to help myself relax and cleanse my energy field. Now, if you would like to participate in this meditation, please take a seat or lie down, close your eyes, and begin to relax. To help you relax, take a deep breath in and and out. And again. Breathe in and out, relaxing more and more as you do so. And one last time, a deep breath all the way in and out. You're now completely relaxed. And now, with your eyes still closed, imagine just above your head a golden orb of light. That golden orb of light is intensifying more and more and sending down into your crown chakra a beam of golden light. Which is flooding your energy field with gold light, transmuting all the dark patches which represent your fears and negativity into golden light, and filling every single cell of your physical body with golden light. This golden light is now opening up all chakras, beginning with the crown at the top of your head, your brow, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, base, and all minor chakras, including your hands and feet. Beams of pure golden light are now shooting out of your hands, feet, and base chakra, deep down into the bowels of Mother Earth, firmly anchoring you with the planet. You are now firmly anchored with the planet. As I say this and you think this, it becomes reality. And now, in light and love, and in the name of the Creator, send forth from your energy field all negativity. Send it out into the cosmos to its appropriate destination. You are now a being of pure golden light, fully protected. As I say this and you think this, it becomes reality. If you like, you can now repeat this meditation to yourself at any time to help you relax and to cleanse your energy field. I wish you a good day. Namaste.
Wow. That's incredible. That's very, very nice. I really would love to see more of that. Absolutely. That's just incredible.
Your wish is my command.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, what if we did an extended session with David? One of these broadcasts.
That would be great if he's willing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be up for it.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, that particular meditation, I actually came up with another version the other day. It's a longer version where I then get us to imagine this golden orb completely surrounding Earth, protecting Earth from all negative intrusions and energizing everybody on the planet and helping to blow away all the nasty negativity and viruses and deep state and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, yeah, something like that could be really good. Something like David Wilcock does. I mean, David Wilcock is a master of this stuff now. He's so good, and he's really inspiring me. I mean, it was doing the meditation with him the other day in his latest live stream that inspired me to finally take a punt and make my first video.
Wow.
As I said, I've never had the guts. I've never had the guts to do it before, but to do it and to put it out there.
I thought you had been doing this a long time, like creating audio and video meditation. I mean, that was perfect. I feel. I mean,
no, I haven't. It's still very short of what I would like to do. I could do better than that.
Right.
I've worked as a past life regression therapist. I've regressed about 50 people successfully, and wow, even that I could talk for hours and hours and hours in the insights that I've had whilst doing regressions for people, and the one progression that I did, amazing stuff. And what I found was that's where I honed my skills in doing that. But I grew at the same time. Every time I'd work with an individual, I actually grow from the experience as well. And I've seen people change. I've seen people adopt skills that they mastered in a past life that they've never done in this life. I've done a regression with them, and 6 months later they say, hey, you never believe it, I'm now doing aromatherapy, where they never even thought about it before. Or I've joined a church, and I'm now following God, and they've never done that before. And it's all come out of them doing the past life regression. At first, I never really connected the two, and I thought, hang on, 6 months ago, I sent them back to a life where they found themselves doing healing, and now they are doing healing. And there was this lady went back to a life where she was in a Mormon group, and she actually then went and joined a Christian group. And she was doing that for years. And, I thought, wow, it only occurred to me that people really are growing and incorporating these past life skills into their current life, where they would never have considered doing that before. And I grew with it, which was just such an honour.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, I sort of, because it's very hard to get yourself established and actually make decent money out of that. At the time, I had a mortgage, I had a family and commitments, and so I ended up going back to the corporate world where I knew I could make money. And now
you're more free to get back into that kind of thing and really take off with it.
Yeah, I've got friends that have been saying, Dave, you've got to do this stuff. You're being mean. You're being mean by not doing it. It's like, well, I'm a little bit scared to do that again, because I didn't really feel I got a lot of support in the past. But it's a different era now.
It's a different world, yeah.
Time.
It's a different world, yeah.
Yeah. The world really needs anything that we can do. If all of us, whatever skills we have, if we can now use these skills to help inspire others and to help others, this is the time to do it. There's never been a better time.
Never been a better time, exactly. It's definitely.
Now, what do you guys think? Like, there are so many, with a lot of people waking up and sort of tuning into themselves and rejecting like traditional 9-to-5 jobs and that sort of thing. Like, this is something I thought of, like, what happens if the market, like, I hate to think of it this way, like, what happens if the market gets saturated with people doing that sort of doing, like, life coaching, being like therapists of different sorts and practitioners. I just have something I've thought about, because, like, my son is thinking about doing it. He's very I think he's got a talent for that sort of thing too.
I think there's always room. There's always room for it.
Like, David is going to be speaking about that too, like how now's a good time to think about how to use your your skills, but what if everybody is doing at the same time an ascension course, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, there already are a lot of people doing this work. There's so many life coaches out there, and there's so many people doing this work. But I feel that everyone has their individual, unique skills, and you will find people will be drawn to certain people, and they won't be drawn to others. Like some people wouldn't be drawn to David Wilcock. Some people may be drawn to someone completely different. And I say, if you've got the skills, just put it out there and see where it goes. I mean, I do believe in God, and I believe that we do get guided, and I believe that I'm doing what I asked him a long while ago. I just put it out there, prayed, and said, look, I am. This is the deal. I'm always going to be loyal to you. I'm always going to believe in you. I'm always going to share about you. I'm always going to tell other people about you. So that's a done deal. I said, the only thing I ask is for you. If you see that I'm fit to serve in a certain way, you, one, guide me in this, and two, when you believe the time's right, provide the resources for me to do that. And I said, that's the only thing. And it's not like I'm saying, well, if you do this, I'll do this. I do what I'm going to do anyway for you, and I always will do. I'm just asking for the guidance and the resources. And I tell you, within 3 years of having that praying, I not only did I know what I needed to do, but all the resources came to me. He provided the resources, and I'm now in a luxury position to do that. Going back a little bit, though, Steve, from what you're saying, it is very, very difficult for someone like your son. So if they want to, if a person wants to do this stuff, to actually go from a salaried income and suddenly go into this and make money from it is very, very difficult. And I basically took a step back 20 odd years ago, and I'm only just beginning to catch up now. So I think when the time's right, inside yourself when it's right. It is, for me, it's overwhelming. It's like, it's an overwhelming compulsion to be doing this stuff. It's not that I actually want to be doing it. It is a compulsion. Something's driving me.
Well, it's the same thing with being an artist. It's like, it's like people think about becoming an artist, and you go, well, maybe you could, but it's like, I don't know what else I would do. It's like, I can't imagine another life for myself. But I guess when you have a gift, we have something that's inside of you that you have to share. That's kind of the way it is. There's kind of no two ways about it.
Well, I wouldn't go back to what I did before, but I'm a little bit older than you, and I've sort of come up to, I've always said at a certain age I was going to retire. Well, I actually retired 3 years early, but I always said that. But I've never said I don't want to work. I said I want to retire. I want to retire from the corporate world. I want to retire from working with other people, but I've never said I want to stop work. In fact, I want to work till the day I drop. But I want my work to be meaningful. I want it to be stuff that I really love, like you with your art. With me, it's my writing, it's sharing, it's talking about God, it's talking about the universe, it's talking about aliens, talking about technology, all this advanced technology that we should have by now. When I was in my 20s, in my teens, I used to visualize a timeline where we had all that technology. I believe by the year 2000, we would be flying around in anti-gravity craft, just like the Jetsons. And when we got there, we're not. We're lucky to just be getting the internet around that time, you know? And it's like, why is this world not what I visualized? I knew we should have that, because my ability was to visualize a timeline where we had all that stuff. And I'm sure we have got that timeline. There is a timeline out there where we have got all that stuff. We happen to be in one that has been hijacked by the Draco and their cabal stooges. And they have robbed us of our birthright. We should not be living the way we are at the moment. And the Great Awakening is about correcting that. That's why the Anshar are here, why the Blue Avians are here, why people like Corey, David, and everyone like all of us, we're stepping out because we are in the process of correcting a terrible crime that's being committed against humanity.
That's right. That's a great note to finish on. So we're at a little bit over 2 hours here, and I just want to thank you guys for joining tonight. And this has been fantastic discussion, and I hope that everybody else out there listening is enjoying it as well. So I will, for now, just turn off the recording, and then we can kind of finish our goodbyes after that.